Subscribe to this YouTube channel and please enjoy watching this video. Here we go. A competition that has caused many Premier League managers a headache over the years due to timing. The 2023 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations is set to begin on January 13, 2024, leaving certain teams wondering how they'll cope with missing players. Manchester City and Newcastle United are the only two Premier League clubs that will see their squad unaffected by the tournament that continues into February 2024. Riyad Mahrez would have been a big miss for the reigning champions in previous years, but the Algerian's move to Saudi Arabia in the summer window put to bed any concerns surrounding this, as he was replaced with Belgian winger Jeremy Doku. Some teams are set to be affected more than most, however, and below is a list of exactly who is missing, with a couple of sides likely to be without multiple key players during the new year. The Premier League is set for another mid-season shake-up when January comes around. Arsenal, 2 players, Thomas Partey, Ghana, Mohamed Elneny, Egypt. Arsenal have already had to deal with both Mohamed Elneny and Thomas Partey leaving for AFCON previously and must do so again when the tournament rolls around in 2024. The Gunners already look light in that holding midfield position given the former hasn't played regular football in months, and the latter is currently out with an injury. Declan Rice remains the one true player who can fill in that number 6 role, and Mikel Arteta will be desperately hoping he can stay fit in January. Don't be surprised if the Gunners dip into the transfer market for some potential midfield cover, whether on loan or a permanent deal, to see them through those first couple of months of the new calendar year. While Elneny and Partey may not even feature in Arsenal's strongest 11 these days, they're massively important to the squad, and their participation at AFCON will leave Arteta concerned. Aston Villa 1 player, Bertrand Traoré, Burkina Faso. Just the one player for Aston Villa will be missing, and that's Bertrand Traoré. The Burkina Faso international isn't a regular in Unai Emery's side and has rarely been used as an option off the bench in the 2023-24 season thus far. If Villa can steer clear of injuries and everyone stays fit and well, the winger is unlikely to represent a huge loss with Moussa Diaby, Leon Bailey, Nicolo Zaniolo, and Jacob Ramsey all ahead of him in the pecking order. It's exactly why Emery might not be too worried about losing the former Lion man to the Africa Cup of Nations, so it should be a case of as you were with Villa when January comes around for them. Bournemouth 3 players, Dango Ouattara, Burkina Faso, Antoine Semenyo, Ghana, Haim Traoré, Ivory Coast. In his first season in charge of Bournemouth, Andoni Iraola will need to deal with the issues a mid-season Africa Cup of Nations causes, with his side set to suffer from it as well. 3 of his attacking players, Dango Ouattara, Haim Traoré, and Antoine Semenyo, are all in line for international duty once we head into 2024, although it's the latter player's absence that might be a cause for concern for Iraola. Semenyo has played a vital role in 15 games during the first half of this campaign. More than anything, the trio heading to AFCON provides some much-needed quality going forward, whether that's off the bench or from the start, and when the schedule gets even more packed over the winter, they will be a tremendous loss for the high-flying Cherries. Brentford 2 players, Yoane Wissa, DR Congo, Frank Onyeka, Nigeria. Another side badly affected by the Africa Cup of Nations is Brentford, with Thomas Frank set to be without his remaining key forward. Yoane Wissa is set to be away on international duty in January, severely depleting the Bees' options up front. Star striker Ivan Toney is of course serving his ban for betting breaches at the moment, while his first eligible game back, providing he is fit and well, will be against Tottenham on January 30th. Brian Mbeumo would also have been heading to AFCON in January had he not been ruled out by injury. That will mean the Bees will be without their top 3 attacking options for at least a couple of weeks once the new year comes around, although that could potentially extend if Toney isn't deemed match fit. It all means Frank faces a major headache regarding how he sets his lineup, and who could potentially come in and do a job. Brighton 4 players, Tariq Lamptey, Ghana, Carlos Baliba, Cameroon, Simon Adingra, Ivory Coast, Sami Chouchain, Tunisia. Brighton have 4 players heading to the Africa Cup of Nations, although Roberto De Zerbi may not be too concerned by it. Simon Adingra and Carlos Baliba are the 2 higher-profile names set to be missing for the Seagulls, with the former being the most established first-team star. Tariq Lamptey has proven to be a strong squad option, but the right-back has struggled to get on the pitch often enough in the first part of the 2023-24 campaign due to injury issues. Meanwhile, Sami Chouchain is the other member of the Brighton squad who is also set to be ruled out of contention for any games in January. De Zerbi, therefore, should be able to safely navigate the competition without too many issues. Burnley, 2 players, Lyle Foster, South Africa, and Anas Zaroury, Morocco. Like their 2 other promoted counterparts, Burnley will have to deal with the player availability issues AFCON can cause. Vincent Kompany's side will have to make do without their starting number 9, Lyle Foster, who has featured 10 times in the league, scoring 3 goals and contributing 3 assists. Meanwhile, Anas Zaroury's debut in the top flight got off to an inauspicious start when he was sent off late on in the 3-0 defeat to Manchester City at Turf Moor on the opening day, and has since struggled to force his way back into the Clarets' starting lineup. That absence has given Kompany a taste of what he will be missing when AFCON gets going, so the Belgian will no doubt already be plotting ways to get the best out of his team. Chelsea 1 player, Nicolas Jackson, Senegal. Chelsea's summer transfer window has massively changed how they might have been impacted by AFCON. The Blues had the likes of Kalidou Koulibaly, Edouard Mendy, and Hakim Ziyech in their squad, and they all would have been missing come January. However, Todd Boehly's rebuilding work means all 3 were let go, and now Mauricio Pochettino only has to deal with the one absence, Nicolas Jackson. The striker has hardly set the world alight at Stamford Bridge, spurning a number of great chances, and actually ranking first in a list of worst finishers in the Premier League earlier this season. However, given the complete lack of options outside of him in this current Chelsea squad, Pochettino will badly feel his absence come January. Given the levels of spending from Boehly and co though, you can just imagine Chelsea will already be plotting ways to bring in a new centre-forward. Crystal Palace 1 player, Jordan Ayew, Ghana. Crystal Palace could be without one key first-team star, with Jordan Ayew in line to be on AFCON duty in January. The Ghanaian forward has been a regular occupant of the right-wing spot in the Eagles team and has been an important member of Roy Hodgson's side. Jeffrey Schlupp is currently retired and is set to miss the tournament, while holding midfielder Sheikh Doucoure would have been set to represent Mali at AFCON had it not been for an Achilles injury that has ruled him out for the remainder of the season. Ayew's absence could be offset by Michael Ollis, who missed the early weeks of the Premier League campaign but has since returned and got back up to speed just in time to become the full-time right-winger at the club once again. Everton 1 player, Idrissa Gueye, Senegal. Having featured in 18 of Everton's games across all competitions, Idrissa Gueye is a vital member of Sean Dyche's starting lineup, being the experienced holding midfield option in the team. A veteran of the Senegal squad, he has over 100 caps for his country. Gueye will be looking to go all the way when AFCON gets started, leaving his manager back home with a problem. James Garner could be tasked with sitting deeper in midfield when Gueye does make his way to AFCON in January, although Dyche may also contemplate moving the likes of Amadou Onana and Abdoulaye Doucoure there too if necessary. Whatever the case, the Everton manager will be desperate for his midfield linchpin to return as soon as possible. Fulham 3 players, Alex Iwobi, Nigeria, Calvin Bassey, Nigeria, Fode Ballo-Touré, Senegal. Fulham boss Marco Silva will have to deal with a trio of summer signings being unavailable during the new year, with Alex Iwobi, Calvin Bassey, and Fode Ballo-Touré all set to be missing. The Cottagers had already lost Aleksandar Mitrovic in the summer, and are having to try and replace his guarantee of goals somehow, so the last thing the club needed was for 3 potentially key players being out for a few weeks. Bassey and Ballo-Touré missing as part of the defense would be a key blow for Silva, although it is an area where the side have a few options already. Even still, the Fulham boss will be hoping all 3 of his players involved at AFCON return soon. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and please enjoy watching this video. Here we go. Liverpool 1 player, Mohamed Salah, Egypt. Liverpool will only have 1 player missing due to AFCON, but it's arguably their most important one, Mohamed Salah. The Egypt international will be hoping to fire his country to success in the competition, but while he looks to do that, Jurgen Klopp will once again need to cope without him. One thing in the Reds' favor is the sheer amount of options at the manager's disposal. With a number of high-profile and expensive attackers Klopp can choose from to replace his talisman. Liverpool, of course, have already had to deal with both Salah and Sadio Mane previously heading off for AFCON, so this is certainly nothing new. And if there's one manager who can deal with it and keep the Reds' winning machine ticking over, then it's Klopp. Salah has been in fine form as he always is, even breaking into the top 10 Premier League goal scorers of all time. Luton, 2 players, Issa Kabor, Burkina Faso, Pelly Mpanzu, DR Congo. Embarking on a remarkable campaign in the Premier League, Luton boss Rob Edwards will be without 2 key players due to AFCON, Issa Kabor and Pelly Mpanzu. The former of course arrived on loan from Manchester City in the summer and has been a rotational fixture in the backline at Kenilworth Road this season, while Mpanzu has had a similar role in the middle of the park. The 29-year-old story of rising with the club from non-league to the Premier League has been well spoken about, and amid just 2 caps for DR Congo, is likely to play a more prominent role when he goes and plays for them in Africa's biggest tournament. Even Luton fans surely won't begrudge the midfielder going off and realising another dream of his when January comes around. Manchester United, 3 players, Andre Onana, Cameroon, Sofiane Amrabat, Morocco, Amad Diallo, Ivory Coast. Having signed both Andre Onana and Sofiane Amrabat in the summer, Erik ten Hag added a couple of potential headaches to his Manchester United squad when January rolls around. In the case of missing his first-choice goalkeeper, the Dutchman will have to rely on another new signing in Altay Bayender, and given he hasn't played any significant minutes before the new year, it will be a big risk. Even with the high-profile mistakes on Onana's CV so far, the Cameroon international will be a huge miss. Amrabat, meanwhile, has been solid cover for Casemiro with the Brazilian suffering fitness issues throughout the season, and also gives ten Hag the option to play with 2 sitting midfielders. Man United only have 1 Premier League game in January, meaning the absences shouldn't be too costly. Youngster Hannibal Mejbri was thought to be heading to AFCON to represent Tunisia, but Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that the 20-year-old will not be heading to the tournament as he looks to secure a loan move away from Old Trafford. Nottingham Forest, 7 players, Serge Aurier, Ivory Coast, Willy Boly, Ivory Coast, Ibrahima Senghar, Ivory Coast, Taiwo Awoniyi, Senegal, Ola Aina, Senegal, Chiku Kouyaté, Senegal, Moussa Niakhaté, Senegal. If there is one manager who won't be happy with AFCON's timing, it's new Nottingham Forest boss Nuno Espirito Santo. He is set to be without 7 players during the competition, and the majority of them are regulars within the first-team squad. In fact, 3 of the players who are set to be missing form part of his back line, with regular fullback option Ola Aina, and the centre-back pairing of Willy Boly and Moussa Niakhaté. That's not to mention the midfield duo of Ibrahim Senghar and Chika Kouyaté also being ruled out, while arguably the most significant loss of the lot is Taiwo Awoniyi. The Nigerian striker is Forest's first-choice frontman when fit, offering pace and power through the middle and causing defences up and down the country in the Premier League plenty of problems. Sheffield United, 2 players, Ismaila Koulibaly, Mali, Anis Slimane, Tunisia. Another one of the newly promoted sides, Sheffield United are also set to be without a couple of players come January. Ismaila Koulibaly, who has yet to play in the Premier League this season but has featured in the Carabao Cup, is one of the 2 to be missing, with summer signing Anis Slimane also likely to be ruled out. The duo haven't forged an impression in the top flight just yet, with Slimane playing just 10 minutes on the opening day against Crystal Palace, before suffering a hamstring injury that kept him out of action for the next couple of weeks. The Tunisia international has since made a further 8 appearances. Given the Blades are likely to be fighting against relegation, Chris Wilder could do without a couple of his midfield stars being missing. Tottenham, 2 players, Yves Bissouma, Mali, Pape Matar Sarr, Senegal. Ange Postecoglou's first season in charge of Tottenham will see his mid-season plans disrupted by AFCON, with the North London side having to deal with 2 key midfielders, Yves Bissouma and Pape Matar Sarr, being unavailable for selection. Given that both have already established themselves as key parts of this new-look Spurs team under their Australian manager, it will be a massive blow to lose them both at the same time. Senegal are likely to be among the favourites to win the competition once again, so Bissouma's return may be delayed, although Sarr's Mali may struggle to get too far given the teams they will be competing against. It might just be that Postecoglou could have one of his key midfielders back sooner rather than later in January. West Ham, 4 players: Mohamed Kudus, Ghana; Said Benrahma, Algeria; Maxwell Cornet, Ivory Coast; Nayef, Morocco. One of the teams most impacted by the upcoming AFCON, David Moyes, will be left scratching his head as to how he shuffles his pack and keeps West Ham ticking. The Hammers will be without attacking pair Mohamed Kudus and Said Benrahma, versatile winger Maxwell Cornet, and centre-back Nayef. Perhaps just as pertinently, all 4 of them play for nations expected to compete for the trophy, so West Ham may not even get them back early. Kudus has hit the ground running at the London Stadium, and Hammers fans will be ruining his early departure with Ghana to AFCON, while Agüerd has already established himself as a vital part of the back line. Moyes faces a difficult job ensuring things just don't fall apart while the quartet are away on international duty. Wolves, 2 players: Ryan Aït-Nouri, Algeria; Boubacar Traoré, Mali. The last thing Gary O'Neill would have wanted is for some mid-season disruption at Wolves, but that's exactly what he'll be getting when both Ryan Aït-Nouri and Boubacar Traoré are unavailable for him. Representing Algeria and Mali, respectively, the duo will be at AFCON. The club have had a stronger first half to the campaign than many had expected, sitting firmly in mid-table at the halfway point. The January transfer window being open while the tournament is underway may offer O'Neill a path to strengthen his squad in light of those absences, although given how light their squad is, new signings were likely to be on the agenda anyway. Out of the 2, Aït-Nouri will perhaps be the bigger miss, although Hugo Bueno and Toti Gomes should provide enough depth to cover for him. Let us know what you think about the entire thing in the comments section below. Additionally, stay tuned and subscribe to this YouTube channel for the latest news and updates from around the world. We sign out.